My name is Philip Birch. I'm a resident of Bonteheuwel for the past 46 years. I have 6 other brothers and sisters, 5 brothers and 5 sisters. And I actually the only one that's still in Bonteheuwel. The others all have moved out. And times in Bonteheuwel was hard. It wasn't that easy. My mother then moved from Salt River to Bonteheuwel, and that is what I can remember. When I opened my eyes, it was hard. Money wasn't available most times. You have to struggle, and my mom at the time worked for the madam, as they called it at that time, and she got a very minimal wage. And I can actually say thank you to her for raising us with that few rands that she earned. Not forgetting the generosity also of the madams, which always gave us clothes and shoes of their grandchildren or perhaps children. And I can remember there was one Christmas Eve that I haven't had any clothes. And then my mom came from work. She got material from the madam, and it was a red velvet, and she gave it to Miss Adams at the time, who was the dressmaker or the tailor in our road. And Mrs. Adams worked through the night, Christmas Eve, to make me that suit, that red velvet suit. And I wore it with pride, because that was the only thing, and I was so happy the Christmas morning when I saw it on the bed. And I wore it with a nice school shirt with a black bow tie. Beautiful. That is the things that I can remember. Unfortunately, my mother passed away about 4 years ago, and my father died when I was 4. So that in itself was a challenge. I mean, you as a young man growing up, need that father figure, need that guidance of a father, that that direction sometimes. That was absent in my life. And my brothers, the older brothers, they had their own lives. They moved into gangsterism. They've worked, but never contributed to the household as my mother would like. And my mother was keep on working. She worked for all her life to provide for us. Anyway, I went through school. I went to Bonteheuwel High, and that is where I met up with Ashley Kriel. I was very active in the 80s, the 95, 86 uprising. I was an activist, and I can remember there was a time when we were called to exterminate, if I may use that word, a certain guy that we found out was a police informant, and we all rushed to his house and we bombarded his house. And that is only one incident of many. The center here if it can speak, it will tell you a whole story. And Ashley Kriel, he was a good leader. He was fearless. And that gave us the courage or the strength to do what we had to do at the time. I mean, I was involved also in the Trojan horse there in Athlone. We moved from Bonteheuwel High to Modderdam, and from there we were mobilized and moved over to Zamar Center, and that is where we had our meeting. And there already we could have seen the police was out to get us. But anyway, we made our way to Belgrave and that areas, and that is where the nonsense started. But I went on. I actually moved away from politics, and I moved more to a spiritual side of my life, tried to find my identity, which I did in Christ Jesus. And and I served on this in my community as a self-proclaimed counselor, perhaps maybe, helping kids. I've served on a governing body for 2 consecutive terms, and I was served on the health committee, all to just help our community. My little contribution I tried to make, I hope it made a difference in a child's life. And I've worked for the government for over 15 years before I started my own business, which I still run today. I had to fight to get what I wanted. I had to sacrifice to get where I am today. It wasn't easy, as I said. Money wasn't always available. I had to knock on doors for funding. Luckily, the government was generous enough to send me to varsity and stuff like that. And I've acquired my qualifications and stuff like that. But ultimately, I thank God for that, because the way I grew up, I never thought I will end up where I am today. Because there was a time in my life where I've moved into the wrong direction. I became alcoholic. I became, I won't say a drug addict, but I was on drugs. And for 7 years, I've actually wandered around. I haven't had a place to stay. For 7 years, I sleep here, sleep there, and just go where I can find booze. And that was my life for 7 years. And that is where I really actually got my courage together and said, I need to find my identity. I need to fix myself up. I need to get straight. And that is where I met God. And by meeting God, my life just fell into place. I met a wonderful woman. In fact, I was married when I was wandering the street, because she left me because of my alcohol addiction, and she couldn't handle it anymore. My eldest son was, I think, 2 years at the time, and she left me for good reason. And but by the grace of God, we reconciled. That is now over 15 years. I'm married 21 years up to date this year, and yes, could be 18 years, 18 or so, because I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking about 18, 17 years ago, and that is where God started dealing with me, starting straightening me up, and I got a job in the government, and that is where I studied further my studies, my matric and all these qualifications that I now have, and up until the point I have my own business, and God has been great to me, of where I came from and where I am now. I can only thank God for that. And I've got a wonderful wife. My eldest son is now currently studying law. He's studying law. My one is matric at Rhodes High, and the other one to grade 10 at Rhodes High. He's going into architecture, the one that is matric. So I can thank God for changing. I could have chosen that road, to stay on that road. I could have made a mess of my life, which I actually did for that 7 years. Things were just bad at the time. Things were just bad. I can truly say I had nothing that I could call my own. I had nothing that I could actually show for myself and stuff like that, because of my alcohol and drug addictions. And what happens is that when I started working, I bought myself a house in Bonteheuwel. I got a few cars which I buy and sell, one of my businesses that I run, and I'm doing good. I'm doing good by the grace of God,
Philip, tell me, one of your sons is playing table tennis.
Yes. Oh, Lyle have just made a team now this year. In fact, last year. He made a team last year, And he've always been a Western Province player. He's always been the best in the province. Since the age of 12, he's been in the newspapers ever since the age of 12, the local newspapers, and he's doing well. He's doing well in his sport. The other thing is this: David also was a very good table tennis player. VP, won a few opens, not much as Lau did. He won the VP Open, and they Stanton also, the older one. Also, that is actually where they got good from the older one. He went to the high performance center in Pretoria. They wanted to have him there, the high performance center. That is where Keegan Lingevelden was, and Keegan that is now currently in Pietermaritzburg trained, the best in South Africa. Yeah, that is why. Then I said no, man. I needed you here because at the time he was playing the drums in the church and he was leading the services. I needed him more in the church. And so I said, no, man, let us pass you. And he's not sorry because things have turned out good for him.